You chose to click on this video, so that means you're about to take the SAT tomorrow. You may have studied a lot, you may have studied a little bit, you may be really nervous right now, you may be really confident right now. Doesn't really matter. In this video, I'm going to explain to you what I think is the most important thing you need to understand right now heading into the test. Now, just to be clear, before we actually get into this video is not going to be talking about geometry and trigonometry. This video is not going to be talking about grammar rules. This video is not going to be talking about Desmos. If you want those specific things, go ahead, watch one of the other videos I've recently uploaded on the channel. But this video is going to say something far more applicable and honestly far more important than any one specific rule that you could be learning right now. I just say this because I don't want people to be, clowning on me in the comments like you always try to do about saying that, oh, I was hoping this would be like a Desmos regression video. This is not going to be that video. Here's what this video is going to be about: probability and possibility. Let me define what these terms actually mean. So probability, under my definition, is something that is likely to happen. For example, it is currently the summertime while I'm making this video. So it is probable, it is likely that it is going to be very warm outside tomorrow. All of the indications, the meteorologist, everybody agrees it is very probable that that is going to be the case. Meanwhile, possibility is just something that theoretically could happen. It is possible that it could literally snow tomorrow. It's very unlikely, it's very not probable, but theoretically it could happen, like that day back in March where it snowed randomly for the first time in weeks. It could hail tomorrow, it could rain tomorrow, it could do a million different things tomorrow. It could be really cold tomorrow, for example. Any of those things theoretically are possible, they just are not probable. And why does this actually matter? Because everything that you're thinking about right now for the SAT deals with probability. You guys are asking me, is it realistic? That's a big thing people ask me all the time. Is it realistic that I could go from an 1100 to a 1400? Is it realistic that I'm going to get a 1500 tomorrow? Is it realistic that the August SAT is going to be easier than the June SAT, or that it's going to be harder than the June SAT? Is it realistic that there's going to be more geometry on this test because there's more in the question bank? Is it realistic? You guys are all asking about probability. And this makes sense because this is, how our brains work. This is how you probably want to be thinking about this test. And it's even how other companies work. For example, there's this great software called Onico that actually gives you a guarantee that you're going to hit the SAT score that they say you're going to hit. But they only go off of what is probable. They don't guarantee that you're going to get a 1500 by using their thing. They may say that, okay, with the amount of time that you have to study per day, you're going to get a 1320. And so this is probably the score you're going to get. You maybe get a bit higher, maybe get a bit lower, but that's probably going to be the score. Or if you take a practice test, for example, on the SAT, it is just one snapshot of where your score likely is to be. This is where, if you get a 1200 on a practice test, you're probably going to get maybe a bit higher or a bit lower than 1200. It's very unlikely that you're going to get a 1600 on the test. But here's the thing. None of what I just said there matters at all. Because there was literally a student who got a 1020 on the March SAT, and he got a 1600 on the May SAT. Now, I actually confirmed this. He showed me the screen recording of him going on the College Board website and actually showing that his score was this. So I trust this was legit. And even if you think that was too crazy of a jump, there's even been some smaller jumps. For example, this guy, he got, for example, a 1250, and in the span of just a couple of weeks, he got to first a 1320 and then to a 1480. Also a pretty big score improvement. And so, honestly, if either of these people had asked me, John, do you think it is realistic? Do you think it is probable for me to get to this score increase? I would have told them no, especially for this guy. I mean, I would have definitely said there is no way you're going to get from a 1020 to a 1600 in a couple of months. There's no chance of that happening. I mean, not literally no chance, but I would say it's very, very improbable. So much so that it's probably, not even something worth considering. But he did it. Even if I would have said that, he just went ahead and he got to that score range. And so what does this really indicate to you? It literally doesn't matter at all what is probable. What is probable has already been determined for you. It's been determined by the amount of time you spent studying. It's been determined by how the test writers chose to make the test. It's been determined by how the past couple of weeks have gone. It's been determined by how you are mentally right now. All that really matters for tomorrow is what is possible. And if you're trying to get to some score increase, it always is possible. No matter where you are right now, there is actually a chance you could get to a 1600. There is a chance you could score 200 points higher than your practice test. There is a chance you could get a score way higher than all of your friends. It is always possible. It may not be likely, but that literally doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I tell you that it is improbable for you to get that score. Like, what is that going to do? All that's going to do is maybe convince you to not try as hard. It's going to convince you to, just say, okay, I'll give up. I'm just going to like put down a random answer for everything. Or even if I tell you that it is probable, like all that's going to do is make you feel like you don't have to work as hard. It's going to make you feel like, oh, it's already set in stone. I have plot armor. So, what's even the point of actually trying to work hard on this test because I know I'm going to get this score regardless? All that matters here is the possibility. Let me give you some actually actionable stuff on this because it's not just this. Yes, it always is possible, but there are definitely some things you could theoretically do to close off this possibility. Like, for example, if you left every single question on the test blank, it is no longer even possible that you got a 1600. Like there's no chance. There's literally zero chance that you could get a 1600 at that point, at least through any legitimate way. If you, spend 10 minutes on one question, it is now not possible for you to get a very, very high score. It may be possible that you could get a lower score, but it's not going to be possible that you're going to be getting a 1500 plus if you waste like 10 minutes of the test on one question. And so if you want to maximize your possibility, a couple things I would recommend. First of all, skip aggressively. How many stories do you need to hear of a student who spends like 10 minutes on one question and then as a result completely messes up the entire test to know that this is what you need to do? I'll be honest with you, this is going to maybe sound a bit like glazing, but if you are a smart person, if you are an intelligent person, this is going to feel difficult for you because some of the smartest, some of the most intelligent people I know have a really big issue with feeling like I have to get every single question right. I have to do as well as I possibly can. I can't leave a single question blank. I can't skip a single question because I have to finish it the first time to prove that I'm really smart. But the truth is, the real smart thing to do on the SAT is skip whenever you can feel that you either don't know what to do or that you are going to take way too long or have it just be way too hard to actually figure out. If it's a passage question where you can tell going into it, it is just way too much. It's way too much scientific jargon. It's way too much very long choices. Skip it and come back to it. If it is a math question where it's some geometry and trigonometry rule that you just have not seen before, ever, just skip it and come back to it. It is not going to be the kind of thing where you're going to suddenly get some kind of crazy motivation midway through the problem and just suddenly figure it out. Skipping is by far the best thing you can do. And I say this because I really don't want you to be in the situation of a student who ends up spending way too much time on one question and completely ruins their test as a result of that. Now, second thing is rely heavily on Desmos. Now, as a small footnote here that I'll just drop in, this is only if you actually know how to use Desmos, if you actually have been practicing with Desmos, which hopefully is the majority of you. But Desmos is a really big cheat code for the SAT, as I say in all of my videos. And so when you see a difficult problem, the first thing you should think of is, can I use Desmos on this thing? That should be really the first thing that should always come to mind. Because if you can, it's going to save so much time. It's going to save an unbelievable amount of time that you can then use for some of the harder questions of the test. I've talked to, again, some smarter students who have been under the impression that they must always try to solve by hand if possible. And that's, again, just a way that you're going to ruin your SAT. And the final thing I have with you here is stay with the plan that you have been practicing for weeks and weeks at this point. You got to think for a second, say you are playing some kind of sport, let's say you play tennis. And let's say that suddenly, right before the tennis match, you just completely switch the racket that you're using. You go from a very bad racket to a very good racket. You may think to yourself, oh wow, this is a much better racket than what I was using before, so it must just be a better tool. No matter if I have no experience with it at all, it must just be a better racket to use. But the truth is, that's probably not the case because you're probably just not used to using this racket. You probably are going to completely mess up everything because no matter how good the racket is, it can't make up for the fact that you're just not good with it yet. And so the same thing with the SAT. If there has been a certain way that you've been going through these questions time and time again on practice test after practice test after practice test, do that same thing on the SAT. If there's a certain order, if there's a certain time limit, don't change it. Even if you watch a video from even me or some other smart SAT person who tells you to switch a strategy, it is not going to be a good idea a day before the test. And also on the test, there's going to be a big temptation to switch your strategy again. You're going to feel okay, let me just throw this all out and let me just go start rushing through every question. Let me just throw out everything I've done because this is way too stressful. Let me just do crazy mode suddenly. Again, you have to try to resist that temptation. The way that you completely ruin SATs and score much worse than your practice is when you throw out everything you've been practicing and just go with something crazy midway through the test. So keep that in mind as well. Now, the last big cheat code I'm going to give you in this is sleep. Now, you don't need somebody to tell you again that you need to sleep the night before the SAT, but let me actually tell you why you need to do this. When you do passage questions on the SAT in both reading and writing modules, it is very just difficult to focus on what the passage is saying when you're tired. Trust me, I know this firsthand because I've done it many times on the live streams on the channel because I do them at like 9:30 p.m. at night, and sometimes they go for like 1 to 1.5 hours. It is annoying, it is difficult to have to pay attention to a screen and read stuff on it when you are tired, and it matters way more than you may think. It doesn't matter as much for math, I'll be honest. Like, you can probably do questions with Desmos even if you are tired, but for reading and writing, it really can screw you terribly. Make it as much of a priority as you can to actually sleep tonight. Put a mask on your face if you need to. Put lo-fi hip-hop beats on the playlist if you want to. I actually used to be a lo-fi producer, as some of you may know. So go ahead. I'll put some of my past beats in the description of this video, so you can go ahead and check that out if you want to. But just do something that's going to get you to relax and actually sleep for the amount of time you have. There's literally nothing that's going to happen in this night that's going to change your SAT performance. This is not like a history test. You're not going to suddenly like learn about the Battle of Antietam the night before and suddenly just like do way better than you thought you could have done. There's way too much stuff on the SAT to really make a big difference in just a couple of hours, and it's definitely not going to be worth it no matter how much you think it is. So make sleep your biggest priority tonight. And along with that mindset, I'm not going to say anything else in this video. Good luck on the SAT, and make sure to always stay Gucci.